What's going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, what shorts have been doing, and go over everything else that you need to know for today. Before I get into any of that, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, it is down 0.6%. We're basically in power hour, so 1 hour left. And this is Déjà vu once again. So it's like we've been here before with it at $7.49. Very strong resistance due to options. I don't know, it's kind of comical if you ask me, but it did have a low of $7.31, so it has recovered fairly well. And on the flip side, $7.61 for the high. No official news from SoFi today, no SEC filings, nothing like that. The only thing that I guess SoFi got really dragged into, in my opinion, it didn't really affect it. But this came out yesterday, closer to the tail end of the day. But it just says SoFi Technologies snaps 7-day win streak after student loan forgiveness news. So it looks like a lot of public servants are getting, I guess, their loans forgiven or student loans forgiven by Biden. I don't really see this as the reason why SoFi did really pull back yesterday. Rather, I think it was just due to larger concerns, broader market. Right now, the fear and greed index has pulled down quite a lot over this last little bit as well. So that is definitely affecting a lot of stocks such as SoFi. And plus, at the same time, you're seeing kind of a fraction of the institutions paying attention to it. And that's not necessarily just SoFi, that is across the board. So again, that is something to keep in mind. And like I've shared with you in the past, I do feel that there is going to be a broad market rotation once those two rate cuts do come into play, and that rotation would kind of originate from money markets. But as of late, there hasn't been all that much in change, overall market volume over the last couple of trading days. So again, I'm kind of monitoring that. But right now, even though the market's pulled back, there is still a very strong likelihood of a 25 basis point cut for September 18th, a 93.5% likelihood to be exact. And then for the November one, because of recent circumstances, that has actually pulled back slightly. So 55.7% likelihood of a 25 basis point cut, a second cut. And so this one did go down slightly from 63. So again, that's something to keep in mind. And maybe this is why you're not seeing that kind of beginning of that broad market rotation that I kind of signaled a couple days back. So let me know your thoughts on that. It seems like the market can't win, and right now there's just a lot of blood in the market. As you can kind of see, NASDAQ is down 0.68%, S&P down 6%. A lot of news seems to just be talking about the whole outage that seems to be affecting multiple different sectors and a lot of the big banks. But surprisingly, I don't believe from what I've seen it's affecting SoFi. So once again, I guess SoFi stands out above the brick and mortar banks, but obviously to Wall Street, SoFi is just a bank. As of right now though, you are seeing shorts return a small amount of shares. So 30.95 thousand shares, 17.29% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 179.53 million shares overall are being shorted. Shorts were actually increasing quite a lot early part of the day, as you can kind of see from the teal line, and then they just randomly kind of took advantage of the market selling off and did return quite a lot, as you can kind of see right here. So at one time they were increasing 4.1 million shares, and then they kind of just returned quite a lot. Cost to borrow average is 0.96%. And actually, speaking of shorts though, anticipate them to be very active in the next hour to ensure that SoFi does close below 750, because like I've indicated in the past, if SoFi or just any stock closes at the strike price or above, then that's considered in the money. So kind of just be aware of that. And speaking of options though, that's a good transition point. So 3.8 million in calls, 1.5 million in puts. So dollar value wise is a little bit lower today versus the last several trading days, but nonetheless though, 46% of all the options being done today are optimistic and bullish. So I see that as relatively good stuff, and it seems to be more oriented towards July the 26th, roughly around $7.50 to $8 strike prices. So people are clearly anticipating more of a secondary kind of run right here. So over the last several trading days, it could be seen as just more consolidation, and once the fear subsides, and this is where you'll see a secondary run with SoFi. But we'll just have to wait and see. Right now, this is the call option for the open interest. So you do see 12,000 20,000 at that 650, then 30,000 at that 7, then 25,000 at that 750. So once again, you're going to see a little bit more of a suppression when it comes down to that. So we'll just have to wait and see if that does stick. Nonetheless, though, even if it doesn't close at 750 or above, I still think 30,000 and then 12,000, 3,000 at that 6, that being in the money, still should cause a nice bump up on Monday. So roughly around 4.5-ish million shares being purchased by market makers. So I see that as generally optimistic. And one thing I just wanted to kind of break it down. Some people said, how do I know it always happens on Monday? Which obviously I bring it up every single time. But in theory, the reason why it does happen on, for instance, Monday during the trading day is because volume during after hours and pre-market is substantially lower. So let's say market makers want to cover, let's say about 4+ million shares. Well, that would kind of cause SoFi to go up very, very dramatically. Not saying they can't. If they wanted to, they could, in theory, definitely do that pre-market or again after hours, but logically it's kind of more advantageous. There's a lot more liquidity during the actual true trading day. So this is why I feel that they do it. Again, market makers might do something completely different or whatever else. And that's not also counting if they are hedging with options as well. So there's a lot of different variables at play. So just wanted to give you guys some overview of that. But I've been kind of saying the exact same thing for the greater part of the last week. $7.50. 750, 750. I've always been saying that. That is a point to watch for when it comes to SoFi, because that is the kind of the strong support / resistance point. It's kind of flirting with that right now. Aside from that, 721 will be the next strong support aside from this R2. That's obviously something to note going into the next several trading days. On the flip side, though, based on the options, like I said, there clearly is a anticipation of a secondary run, more FOMO leading up to their Q2 earnings. So once again, just watch for this $7.97 to be that next strong resistance / target. I'll do a video once again, as I always do on the weekend, just to summarize on some things that you need to know for the upcoming week. And plus, maybe I'll incorporate some analyst expectations for the Q2 earnings. So all in all, just watch for this 750, but it's kind of comical how we are once again at this same stage. So I think over the last like 3-4 months, maybe a little bit longer, there's been so many scenarios where SoFi just gets pushed right like last minute below the strike price. It happens time and time again. And it's kind of funny. Nobody really it's normal now. It's like, it happens. That's what kind of SoFi is all about. But on the actual chart, though, a little bit of consolidation, still above a lot of the key moving averages. So 150-day moving averages. You do see stochastic at 86, so still being somewhat overbought. You do see a bearish deviation starting to form, so red line above the white. And then at the same time, you do see number of retail investors getting out. So I think a lot of the volume being done today is clearly just shorts and algorithmic trading, not necessarily from institutions as once they once were. If I'm saying that clearly, I can't talk right now, but retail at the same time is getting out. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Give yourself a shout out. Have you been buying? Have you been selling? What have you been doing with SoFi? And did you anticipate SoFi to pull down this over the last several trading days? Or did you anticipate it to kind of break the 8 and stay above there? So what's your thoughts? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. And with all that, appreciate all of you watching.